Next on stage would be Eric Lippmann. He's a lead developer for Icinga Web, but he is sick. So he called me yesterday morning at 2 a.m., said I'm sick, and said, great, send me the slides. And then he said, what are you talking about? So I'm jumping in and giving the talk on Icinga Web, so you have to deal with it. I do my very best, so I prepared the slides at night, so it should be okay. Just put down the expectations a little bit before. So I'm not a super developer, but there are some commits I do. So usually I'm not allowed to do so, because every time I change something in the CSS, everything is broken afterwards and they go crazy. So usually I'm not allowed to code anymore. But sometimes, so you see I have something like a code rush, so 9 commits per day. It's pretty flexible on that. So I'm covering the current version of Icinga Web is version 2.2. We released it yesterday at 11 p.m. or so. So it's out there. Also the packages should be online. So just to get a little bit of an impression, who is using Icinga Web 2 already? Okay, somebody still using Icinga Web, the old Icinga Web? A couple of them. Who's using the classic UI? Not bad, there's a chance for migration, I see. The motivation. So the project is about 7 years old in April, so we came a long way with UIs and interfaces to Icinga. So the first thing we had was the old thing. I had to take care of the trademark thing, so I changed it a little bit. So perhaps all of you worked with that thing. And if you ever worked with the old CGIs, it's really horrible. So one of the worst things, if I don't know, do an acknowledgement on 20 services. Do you remember that? How it was it? Do an acknowledgement on 20 services with the old CGIs? It was horrible. Thanks, Star Wars. So we had these new CGIs, and we did a lot of improvements, especially Ricardo, which is here, I think, somewhere in the back. So he did most of the work on the CGI. So we did a couple of major super features like this multi-selection. So people said we migrated over to Icinga. I said, what is the reason? Because we have this multi-select thing, which we save about 2 weeks per month now. So that was really good enough for them, and it helped people a lot. And also we are still working on it, so we're shipping it. Icinga Classic still works. But at some point it's hard to extend, so you can do this iframe thing and can extend the frames. But it lacks a little bit of real user management. You can do something like privileged contact groups, but this is really horrible because it's a little bit of misusage of context for authorization. It's hard to use on mobile devices, depends on your mobile device. So if you have an iPad Pro, perhaps you are not mobile anymore, but you can use it there. It has to run on the same machine like the Icinga core runs. I know you can do it with NFS, Ceph, whatever, with fancy things, but usually Icinga Classic runs on the same machine like the core. And a heavy I/O means not if you have 20 services, but if you have 500,000, you're writing the status.dat file and retention.dat all the time and again and again, and this is really not super good. Then we came up with Icinga Web. A couple of you still using it. It was our first idea. We wanted something new, so I think we started it probably 6 months after the initial fork to work on Icinga Web. At this time, these rich internet applications were super fancy. So with XJS, and it's just a click, and then you have your grid, you can sort it, group it, everything. So we decided to go with it. And perhaps it was not the best idea, but it was also not worst for that time, because at this time it looks very promising to us. But over the time we noticed that we had a lot of work with the framework. Every time they upgraded the XJS framework, some parts fall apart, so it was really hard for us. We had this XML configuration, which, yeah, people love it or hate it, but it was really hard to find the right line to integrate the Active Directory tree somewhere. So people came up in the mailing list and said, we have to edit, and then you just have these fine pieces in that 100-line XML file. Really? So it was hard. We had this cached thing, so every time you changed something, you had to clear the cache. So perhaps some of the hardcore users here remember. We had a lot of overhead with the framework, so we need a lot of JavaScript data. It was, I would say, unusable on mobile devices. And we had a kind of complicated API. So we had some SOAP, Agave, the underlying framework of Icinga web brought with us, but it was not so super good. We had an Icinga mobile. Somebody knows that? Oh. It was a prototype. We never left that state. It was Sencha Mobile, I think, was the framework used, and it was just a 2-week hack in front of a conference. We tried this. It worked, but we never left it, and you can see as the iPhone, it's not like the flagship model on the screenshot. So it's a little bit of an older one, and we discontinued it, so we didn't do any active work on that. So what we learned out of it is, one thing, keep the framework overhead at a minimum. So don't load so much JavaScript and have it too much complicated frameworks. Also, we recognize that most of the people using Icinga are not developers. They want to find their things which they change or integrate or extend it very easily and don't want to fight using an MVC framework or something like that. Usable on any device, so you can use it on an iPad or on a mobile phone. Easy to set up. Means installation should be easy. We have an installer now and stuff like that. No manual cache management, so you don't have to lead something. Perhaps just the super fancy browser reload should take care of it. And having something like an easy API. What is the architecture? The architecture of Icinga Web 2 is pretty simple. The basic foundation takes care of users, database access, logging, all the things, and even monitoring itself is a module. So monitoring on Icinga Web 2 is a module, documentation is a module, and we have a couple of modules on top of that stack right now. More to come in the future, but the basic idea, which is very important to understand, that also the key functionality of Icinga Web 2 is a module. So we ship monitoring and we ship docs, and all the rest you can get it using the background boxes, or you can use it download it from Icinga Exchange, but this is the foundation of Icinga Web 2. So the key features are, it's developed from scratch, so we started all over, based on Zen Framework 1 at this time. Don't ask me why, Thomas can explain better. I think the major reason was Zen Framework was not so good like Zen Framework 1, I guess. Hopefully that was the reason for the decision. We have a Vagrant box, so you can play with it. Also, the demo I use is the exact same demo. You can download and say Vagrant up, and then you have it on your own. It's easy to extend, which we recognize because more and more modules popping up on GitHub, so people write their own stuff for Icinga Web 2, so it's really easy. There's also something like a demo skeleton module where you can see how it works. We have hooks where you can integrate your stuff in specific areas in the web interface. The configuration is ini-based, so key value, super simple, perhaps not bleeding edge, but I think it's the best to edit and find something, so I really, really like it. It has a small footprint, it's really fast, and it's responsive. We put a lot of energy in multiple authentication methods, means you can connect to an Active Directory, other LDAP, which is Active Directory kind of, a DB, internal authentication. You can also chain it, means you can ask your Active Directory if the user is allowed to connect, and if it's not available, you can go to your internal DB and figure out if the user is allowed to see a specific host. You have something like a role-based access control, means you can also privilege user for specific modules. I'll try to show you that in the demo, where you can say you're only allowed to see a specific module, only allowed to see a specific host pattern, for example. And you can also restrict this on additional modules as well. Also for the core functionality, but also for our other modules you put on top of the framework, you can use these role-based access control rules. We support Icinga 1 and 2. So we don't want that people use Icinga 1 anymore, but the major reason is we think we have something which is better. We support MySQL and Postgres, which is important for if somebody is using Icinga Web, the old one with Oracle, still a living user out there, or is afraid to tell it. It could be worse, could be DB2. We have a basic API where you can export your data to JSON or CSV, and we have some URL filters. Here's an example how we can look like, but I will show you that in the demo. We have a graphical installer where you can install the basic framework and also can configure your modules on top of Icinga. The monitoring module, which is the basic thing, shipped with it, but also if you have more modules, you can configure them with a graphical thing. And what we also have, it's based on the same foundation like Icinga Web is. We have a CLI where you can access all the monitoring data using simple CLI commands, and they take the same resources, same privileges that you have in Icinga Web, which is pretty cool, I think. Snoopy Dog thinks that as well. And how that looks like, I show you in the demo. Can you see that? Kind of, okay. No, it's not the Christmas. Yeah, we have a theming as well, so you can have these snowballs, whatever. Perhaps more themes coming up in the future. Perhaps Hello Kitty theme is the next thing we are thinking about. For a couple of colleagues in the office, they are Hello Kitty addicted. Don't ask me why. Perhaps they have that Japanese family. I don't know. When we enter Icinga Web, the first thing we see is the dashboard. Sorry, I have this Hoover here. So this is our landing page. When we enter Icinga Web, this is what we see pre-configured, the service problems, the recently recovered services on the right side. And here in that background box, we also have these business process add-on integrated on the right bottom side, which I explain later on. So this is the typical view. Hopefully you only have green and no red, but this is the typical dashboard view. One of the major design aspects in Icinga Web is that all the details are on the right side. So wherever you go, the details pop up in another column on the right side. So whatever service, host, whatever you have, you find the details on the right. You also have additional information. For example, if you click on a service here, you can go to other services on the same host. So the idea is that it's very easy from the perspective of a monitoring user to go in, see that something is critical, see the details, go far more into the details, doing a drill down to another service, see what's going on, see the state of the other services, and you have everything in one place. Also that the simple commands you do all the time means acknowledging a service, setting a comment is just a click away. So for example, a recheck of a service is just a single click. Check now, that's it. It's no rocket science, but it's really simple. Click, recheck. If you know the old times, we really appreciate that. We also have a history, means on every monitoring object we have this history where you can see everything that happened on a specific monitoring item. Everything you did, you can go back with the browser history, so you can go back and forth and probably reach the same elements, which is pretty cool if you just take a specific link, go to a service, get the history, copy it over, write it to a colleague, and he has the exact same view like you have. This also works with filters or something else. You see in the demo that there are a couple of other action links here, like Graphite. I come to that later. You see comments. Also adding a comment is very simple. That's it. And then you see it here. So it's all the things which we try to have it there as soon and as easy as possible. The things a user typically looks at are the problems. Means what is really, perhaps you missed these old monitoring bar on the top. If you remember these 20,000 host screen, super senseless but very positive information. So we dropped it. We are thinking about if somebody asked us and forced us to have something like a module, you can bring that bar back, but nobody asked so far. So it's not there. And so we decided we want to focus on the problems. Means we have the problems view. You can see that in the small bubbles here if there's a host or a service problem going on. And you just have a view on criticals or downs which are not handled, not acknowledged. You can see them here very quick. What we also have in that demo setup, I don't have so many machines and services, there's a service grid, which is a new view. perhaps you can get an idea what that should be. Means you have the host on the left-hand side, you see only hosts which have an issue going on that host, and you see the services where they have a problem. Means you have the services on the top. Also, if you have more elements, you have something like a joystick navigation where you can reach a specific area in your environment, but it gives you a very quick overview what's going on. Perhaps if you have a central storage and can see that accessing the storage is a problem on every host, it's pretty easy to have a single line going down that there's an issue with the central service. You can also reach the detail. If you go here, have it on the right-hand side, see what's going on, see what other services are on that host, and it's pretty easy to get the details. The overview elements are the typical things you know. Means kind of a tactical overview, but you can also use the dashboard, the dashing. Michael, I think you showed that in the API talk, where you have this dashing. You have more features in that. The typical things here you have is services, for example, commands, the same things I showed you before. What you can do is something like a multi-select, pressing the shift button, then you have all these services together, all the things you would like to group. You can have a multi-select and also do a check now on multiple services. Makes it much, much easier. What we have, in addition to the basic search works on all monitoring objects, means service groups, host services. You can just type in HTTP, and then you find all objects matching a specific search pattern over here. Here you see the service group, which is matched, or here you can see the services. You can also go into that service detail. Our host, which is not super fancy. I go to the services, type in HTTP, and if you click here, you see that there's a powerful filter engine. Means you have this basic thing I filtered here is an OR, means service, display name, or case insensitive. Here is an OR rule, but you can also apply more. Means, I don't know, you would like to look for services which are not okay. Service state is 2. Now we have an OR. But if I put it to an end, then I only have these specific services. You can combine all these filters with multiple and ORs and not, of course. And you can also see that you can filter to every standard attribute of the monitoring, but also to all the custom attributes you put into the monitoring system. Means your custom vars, if you have your host in a specific rack or in a specific data center location or production or development stage, you can access these data here. If you say, I'm only interested in this HTTP critical thing, you can take this filter and add these to the dashboard, because you say that's the thing I would always like to see. You add these to the dashboard. So I would like to have a title for it. It's HTTP critical. And then you have it here on the button. You can also, means every time you log in, you have your specific view. You can share it with others. They see it as well. Also, if, for example, we have these pre-configured things like muted objects, you go to a specific service, say, okay, I want notifications to be disabled. And then on the muted screen, you see that disable objects. Gives you a hint if you come back from the office, what is going on. Somebody disabled notifications on a specific object. Another view on the monitoring information, because often just host and services are not enough, because you want to correlate specific services. For example, you have a web platform with 10 web servers, and you don't care if one server is down. Perhaps somebody else takes care, but not for your business report or for your services. You want to aggregate specific services and objects. So who's familiar with the business process add-on or the business process features available for Icinga and Agios? Not so many, okay. So the basic idea is you have a couple of hosts, you have a couple of services, and you want to combine them with an AND or OR rules on multiple levels to decide if your service in general is okay. So imagine you have a load balancer farm, you have 10 hosts. Means if a host is down, somebody of the engineering or whatever takes care of that server because he has to be replaced. But your service in general is working because it's just 1 out of 10 which is not available. And this is the general purpose of this business process add-on. You can combine multiple services together and decide, even if a specific server or service is down, my business process is still up. So in this example, you see my SQL server, so the typical LAMP thing, a database, a web server, and another database. So important here is you have an end rule which encapsulates everything, means everything has to be there. But on the next level, an or is enough. Means if one of these 2 web servers down here, I hope you can you see it? Kind of. It looks good. If you cannot see it, it looks really good. So the idea is here that you have one web server is up, the other web server is down, but your business process web server is still okay. You can also take these web server, which could be a part of different business processes. For example, your load balancing farm could be important for your, I don't know, for your shopping portal, but it could be also important for your B2B service. You can use the same service multiple times, that you don't have to reconfigure it again and again, and create your own services and have a good impression what's going on. We have something like a simulation. This process is very simple, but I know there are environments out there where they have thousands of these rules generated automatically. You can do something like a business impact. Means you can do so that the service is down and say, okay, let's assume this HTTP server is down. So we manually override the state to critical, and then you see the or rule matches, not again because both of these web servers is down and also this whole business process is broken. Does it make sense? Okay, perfect. You can also add another services here. So we have a graphical UI where you can add another business process service, or you can also add a new node to a specific service. Means you can also create in the web interface a new rule and combine different services and hosts together. They are stored in a simple text file where you can also modify them in your command line tool. Okay. So I jump over to the event grid. Perhaps you remember my very active GitHub landing page. That's probably the same idea, but with a worst case. Means you store all the data, and what we do here is if it's more red, then you have more issues on a specific day. On a longer period of time, that often makes sense because on a short term, weekly or monthly, you cannot identify these recurring problems. You don't remember that, I don't know, every Friday or every second Monday per month, you have a batch job which is ruining your half of your data center. But this gives you a very nice impression if there's something going on a specific day all the time. The same concept like in the other views, you go in the critical, you see what's going on that specific time. See here, this 1,500 services down. It works pretty well. Also, you have a couple of services in there. Same as with monitoring timeline. It takes a while on my small demo setup because I have a couple of data in it over time. It's the same idea that you do more, and this is also a little bit of our target for the future, do more with the historical data, because there's a lot of data in the database you can use for reports, for get an impression what's going on, but there's definitely more room to improve here. But also the timeline is something like giving you an idea what's going on. Are there a lot of comments or host state changes or the acknowledgements? And also you can go here, click in the detail, and see what comments were going on the system. We have a couple of systems integrated. Who knows what Grafana is? Okay, so most of you. Does it make sense to show you how you can work on the Icinga? Okay, just a little impression. This is the basic dashboard, which shows up multiple loads and HTTP response times from the demo setup. This comes pre-configured. Grafana is an open source web interface, very popular for Graphite, but it works also for InfluxDB 8 and 9. It works for Elasticsearch. It works for OpenTXDB and for Prometheus, I think. I'm not sure, but I guess it works for Prometheus as well. So it works for multiple data sources. Grafana is named because it was originally forked from Kibana, the Logstash interface. This is where it comes from. And it's very flexible. In addition to more static RRD files, it gives you the flexibility to combine multiple services and outputs from objects together. How that looks like, just to give you an idea what you can do with it, we create a new dashboard. In the dashboard, we add a panel. Say it's a graph. Then we go here on the top, means edit. Most important thing, giving it a name. Super demo. Then we go to metrics. Because we have a pre-configured connection to our local Graphite database, I can go to Icinga, which we have these metric trees stored in the database. You can select what's going on. So I would like to see every host, which I choose a wildcard filter for it. I want to see the services, every service named, and then, for example, HTTP, the perf data, and then the response time and the value. And right now I have the standard configuration is 6 hours on the top right side. I go to a 15 minutes interval, and then you see the data. So multiple performance data from multiple services combined in a single graph. You can also add more to it. So to the same, for example, response time graph, you can add another metric. Means, for example, do another one. All hosts, services, the name, the load, hello ding, and the value. And then you have your load graphs within. Perhaps in the demo it doesn't make sense because it's a single notebook, so if the load goes up, the response time perhaps goes up also. But if you I don't know, take this to your own environment, you can combine multiple graphs together. Writing the data to Graphite is just a single command. It's a Icinga 2 feature, enable Graphite. Then you write to data to Graphite. I don't tell anything about installing Graphite, so it's pretty easy. But writing data to Graphite or OpenTXDB or InfluxDB is really a single liner, and then you have the data here. We also have PNP, which is kind of a standard, but I think Graphite and all the other new metric systems are growing at that field. You have that view here, but you can also have it in the detail view of every services. For example, if you go here, see the disk space, then you see the small, tiny 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, 25 hours and 4 hours graph. You can go to the detail, and you can also zoom in that graph here and see the detail. This is also something it's in the background box. It is on Icinga Exchange. It's a module. You just have to enable it, and that's it. Coming to authentication, like I told you, we have the possibility to add multiple users, specific on roles and different backends. I just do a demo here. Means I create a new role. Create a user first. I would say it's Oracle admin. No, I have something better. Orasys. You can break in a lot of Oracle databases using this. So you have this user, which is just here. Then you have your roles. But I cannot click it. My browser died. Hello, it's me. Okay, wait a second. Wait for it. Damn it, Chrome. Okay, so my user should be there, or assist. Add a new role. Role name is Super Oracle, user or assist. And then I'll say, okay, the only thing you're allowed to see is the monitoring module. Enable that. Take another browser. Go to the same address. Order sys. Then you can see that I don't have access to the other modules. I only see the standard monitoring module. Okay, so then I assume, okay, a specific, perhaps Oracle was not the best name for the demo case. I would like to privilege only for a specific host. I log out here again, go back to my configuration, and say, I want to filter on specific host. Means, okay, I still have it here. For example, you're only allowed to see host named Icinga, which is the same filter expression we use in general. I update it, log in again. And then you only see hosts, which are Icinga. So every filter you can have on the top, you can also, using this the filter UI, then you have the filter on the top, copy them to the rules, and you can grant your specific access to everything. We also have a small API in the web interface. So if you're really a super hacker, you can do like format JSON, which is super hacky, or even not so hacker, you can say here JSON works as well. But I want to show you that I still am able to write the JSON thing. We have PDF export, means all the filter things could be exported as PDF. You can also use a curl to download it and ship it somewhere regularly every minute. It's fun. You should definitely give it a try. Okay, that's it for here. Then I'll show you a little bit of the CLI. Okay, so the Icinga CLI builds on this, I told you before, is built on top of the same framework, so all the database resources, users and stuff like that is the same foundation. Icinga CLI comes with completion, which means we have here access to the specific modules. For example, because I told you that all that stuff we are using here is a module, I can say Icinga CLI. Can you see that? Can you read that in the back? Okay. So for example, you can say Icinga CLI module list. You see all the modules enabled. So what's not working right now is a module search. We plan that you can directly access all the modules on Icinga Exchange, perhaps download and activate them. So this would be the next step. But right now you can just install it manually, unpack the folder and the zip file, and that's it. So it's, for example, say Icinga CLI module disable monitoring. Then you'll see that monitoring is not here. So the overview is gone because I disabled this module. I would like to disable, for example, graphite, PNP. Then you see it reduces these modules on the left side. You can also, and that's the magic thing, you can enable them. Again. And then your modules are back. You can also query your elements, means Icinga CLI monitoring list. So you see all your objects here you have in the monitoring. Then you can say host Icinga 2 service is, because what the most important check, swap here. Then you can go to verbose for more detailed, and you can say I want to see it every second can do something like a watch, and then you have it again and again in your CLI. For CLI lovers, this is better than Christmas, I think. Okay, that's it for the demo here. Do you have questions regarding the interface, which I can show you in the demo? Okay, I will repeat it.
About the CLI, if you watch with a 1 second, is it also checked every second?
No. Oh, so the question was if you watch it every second. No, it's not. So the check interval is configured in Icinga, and it doesn't change the check interval. What you can do is you can force the API to recheck it every second. That is what you can do, but it doesn't influence on the core itself. It's just the interval of the interface.
Can you write data to the new InfluxDB?
So the question is if you can write data to the new InfluxDB, which is 9x? I don't know, to be honest. Ever tried? Somebody? Usually all the others go away.
I tried it with the 0.10 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
That works fine with the Grafana dashboard. But I not integrated into Icinga, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so it should work. Sounds good. Thank you.
Are there any plans to have an Elasticsearch plugin?
Yeah, the question was, are there plans to have Elasticsearch plugins? Yes, there are. So we already blocked a sprint for that. So the idea is that we have a Logstash Elasticsearch module. There's also a prototype where you go on a specific host, for example, and then see in real time all the logs going into Elasticsearch for a specific host. Means it will also be an Icinga Web 2 module where you have it on the right hand side and see all the logs scrolling by. So that will definitely be out. I would say this year's for sure. When I would not to commit to that, but this year it will be there. Okay, I finished my slides. Not a lot.
Just one more question. Here, over here.
Okay.
Can you run the Icinga CLI remotely? Like, for example, not on the control master server, Icinga?
Yes, you can. You just have to install it there. But the underlying resources go somewhere else. Yes, you can.
So basically, I can run it from my laptop against the Icinga master server.
Yes. You can also, there's also a possibility. Did you show the Icinga 2 console? Where you can go with the Icinga 2 console using the HTTP basic or the certificate authentication, go to another host and query the attributes with the command line. Did you show that guard last state macro?
He did.
Okay, sorry, I cannot remember. That's possible.
Thank you.
I just have 3 slides, then I'm through. So just to give you an idea what the vision is, so we don't want to reinvent the wheel for all the other things out there. So you will not see our own metrics database for Icinga or our own logging system. So our idea is we want to integrate with all the systems out there, with the popular systems. So this is what's working right now. We plan to have more in that area. So Logstash is not 100% out there. We have a Gelf writer where you can also write to Greylog or Logstash, put the data in here, but integrating all the tools out there using Icinga 2 features and also Icinga Web 2 modules to have a single interface and see what's going on in the infrastructure is definitely the target. So the roadmap is modules, modules, modules. So bring out all of them. So right now we have about, I think, 4 modules. It's PNP, it's business process, it's NACVIS. I hate NACVIS. That's the reason why I didn't show it to you, because I think it's a 100% senseless add-on. I can say that. So, and it consumes a lot of time to draw all these maps. So just download some map from the internet and put it on a browser. It works the same way. Nobody will ever recognize that it's not real time. It works. There's a module for trouble ticketing system, so you can configure a specific pattern and you can directly access your trouble ticketing system. We have this business process add-on. We have something which come out very shortly, is something where you can directly access Grafana and draw graphs. I think, Thomas, it's in a very final state, right, in the next weeks. And there will be also a very, very nice, which is more than a module named Director, but this is introduced in the next talk. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, we still have a couple of minutes. If there are questions. You are complaining, I did that the whole day.
We have a Greylog cluster, and my question is...
Pardon, what kind of cluster?
We have a Greylog
okay.
cluster, and can we in future integrate it without a module? Integrate a Greylog cluster in the view.
Okay, right. So reading data out. So Greylog is using Elasticsearch as well as a database, so it will work for the same. So I think it's in some parts a little bit different indexes, but the general data store for Greylog is equal to Logstash or the Elastic Stack. So you will have access to your Greylog data as well with a module, right?
Okay, thanks.
Is it possible to connect to two Icinga backends?
Is it possible to connect to two Icinga backends? You can configure multiple of them.
Yes.
That's possible. Going back to the demo, you have system, you have configuration, sorry, application, and then you have these resources where you have your configured database backends, and you can add multiple resources to that system.
But two Icinga masters?
Two Icinga masters in one interface?
At the same time.
The problem is they are not sick, or does it mean it does not work? I'm not sure that means that it doesn't work. Or wasn't it you, Thomas? Does it work to have multiple Icinga masters in the Icinga web? I think it's not possible right now.
We'll not go to mix multiple masters in just one format. You can build this in database that works right now. You can have resources works perfectly.
Yeah.
Fetching multiple sources and showing them in the same table doesn't make much sense format-wise, but we're going to introduce a feature called environments where you can have completely distinct environments having different browsers, different data sources in the same dashboard. So then if you keep navigating in the environment, you can have all of them in the same. You can have a dashboard with critical services from one environment and the other one. So something like this is...
Did you understand it?
No.
Okay. But it's fun. I try to summarize it. No, it will come.
Okay.
Thanks, Thomas. Named environments. That is the issue existing to bring that feature.
Regarding the users we create in the web interface, is it related to the users we have to the API, or is this completely
separated?
And when I use the Icinga CLI, I use the user in the API.
Use the basic user configured in the data source. The API users is a different object. Means we have in Icinga 2 we don't have contact and contact groups, so we have user and user groups. So we changed that because we think it was a misusage how contacts and contact groups were used for privileges and authentication. But they are different objects to the API, which is an API object, which is a different thing.
So Icinga CLI connects using which user?
Not the API user. The Icinga CLI uses the web front-end user. If you're using, for example, the Icinga 2 console, connecting using the API to a remote Icinga 2 core, then you use the API user or your certificate, which is also related to a user.
Sure.
Can we set different visibilities for different users for specific business processes? Not the module, but the business process itself.
For different process views or for the data in them?
For example, I have 3 business processes for 3 different applications, and I want that one user is able to see only the first one, the second user only the second one, and so on.
At the moment, I don't think so, that we can do it.
Part of it in my stash will be released by the end of the first week of April, so we have a customer that wants to have it.
Okay, so it's not there. I was right with that, but it's planned to be there.
Thank you.
He works 24 hours. He was not in the bed tonight, so he's crazy. More questions?
What about reporting? those customers are interested in reports.
Damn it, you asked that question. No, that's pretty okay. So the question was, is there reporting? So right now in that system, we only have one report, it's alert summary. So we still have these Jasper reporting, which is based on the database. In the future, we plan to have more and more reports in Icinga Web 2. And there's also a feature coming out where you have something like a scheduler, send out a report every Monday as PDF. So the basic functionality, generating a PDF, for example, is still there. So we want to get rid of Jasper reports for the basic things. If you need more, for example, your own CI, your logos, as PDF, Excel sheet, whatever. So it still makes sense to use Jasper because, and especially if you want to integrate multiple sources, for example, your time sheet, your trouble ticketing system, your monitoring, your metrics, in a single report, Jasper or whatever reporting framework you prefer makes sense. But for the simple monitoring reports, we would like to put everything in Icinga Web 2 in the future. That's a target. Okay, thank you very much. Time for coffee break. See you at 3:30. Back here. Thank you.